Thank you. Good evening. I welcome everyone to the June 2024 Council meeting. I declare the meeting open at 6:35 p.m. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Kulin Nation. We offer our respect to the elders of these traditional lands and through them to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people past, present and emerging. I kindly remind everyone, please switch your phone off or turn to the silent. The recording of meeting proceeding, I advise that this meeting is being live streamed and the recording will be available on Council's website. Okay, it's taken to maintain your privacy. However, your presence might be recorded. In accordance with the Council governance rule, meeting may not be photographed, filmed, or recording without the consent of the Chief Executive. Any requests?
No requests, Mayor.
Thank you. So, apologize and virtual attendance. I note that an apology has been received from Councillor Michael Clark. Are there any apologies?
Only Councillor Clark. I advise that Councillor Carter is trying to get online, and I believe she is now on. Do we have that? No, we don't unfortunately have that connection. So, Mayor, can I suggest we keep going and hopefully Councillor Carter will be able to come on.
Thank you. Thank you, CEO. When Sarah Carter joins in, I will declare and ask her some questions. So, leave of absence. Councillor, are there any leave of absence requests? I can't see anything. We have 5 councillors here. Conflict of interest. In accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, I ask if any councillor has a conflict of interest in relation to any of the agenda item. No conflict of interest.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, but I do have a conflict of interest, Mayor.
Sure.
In regard to the last item on the agenda.
Number 13.1?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Now the public question time, we now move into the public question time. I will now explain how the public question time works. Public question time is managed by according with Council's governance rule. Member of the public can submit a maximum of 3 questions prior to the commencement of the meeting. As chair, I will decide who answers the question. Public question time is limited to 15 minutes unless an extension of the public question time is resolved by Council. Okay, so there are public question time, some there. There's some few questions here, Madam CEO. So that's question 4. Question 1, Giant Franco Stella asked the following question. Number 1, can Council please indicate what level of priority is given to the many issues present in Footscray CBDs? There is growing concern among residents that Council are not doing enough. Would you like to answer that, CEO?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Look, I can confirm that Footscray is our city's largest commercial district and so remains a major focus for Council's attention. Council has undertaken several public realm improvements in the Footscray CBD in the past and plans to continue incremental upgrades, subject of course to available budget. Projects completed in the last financial year include upgrades to Byron Plaza with new lighting, seating and landscaping, Dalmahoy Street with a complete reconstruction of the road as a shared space with seating and tree planting and installation of the Nicholson Street Playhouse. Playspace, a temporary installation to attract families with small children in the area. Works on upgrades to Blackstone Lane are almost complete with new landscaping and places for people to sit. A new lighting installation in Nicholson Street between Paisley and Irving Streets has also recently been installed via a grant from the state government.
Thank you, CEO. The question number 2, are there any macro level reform plan being considered to the Footscray CBD to address these many issues? Vacancy, homelessness, utilisation, safety and amenity.
Mayor, in terms of longer-term projects, Council is working with the state government to centralise buses in the Footscray CBD along Irving Street, allowing direct connections between buses, trains and trams. Once buses are removed from Paisley Street, a complete reconstruction of the street can take place, with new drainage, extended footpaths and more greening. This project is subject to state government funding for the relocation of buses. Council is also working with the state government on the upgrade of the Route 82 tram, which will provide opportunities along the route for more pedestrian-friendly streets and tree planting. But in the meantime, we are also doing some roadworks just to upgrade in Paisley Street. Our director might want to speak about that later. Regarding homelessness and vacancies, these are issues currently being experienced across Melbourne. In fact, all of the M9 councils have this issue, and indeed in many cities around the world. Council acknowledges the cost of living pressures many in the community are under and the subsequent impact this has on commercial vacancy rates and homelessness. Council was engaging with the state government, who are responsible for providing support services through the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing, to ensure that services are provided in areas where they are needed. And we're also liaising very closely with police in terms of safety issues that have arisen in that area. We're also spending a lot of time every day cleansing Nicholson Mall and undertaking other rubbish removal procedures as well. So the council really is pulling its weight there, and we're just waiting on the state government for that further funding.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Would director? Okay. Right. That's fine.
No, covered.
Okay. Yep. Okay. That's it. Now the question. Another question from Abu J asked the following question. I recently requested the Braybrook Library to add citizenship preparation classes to their activity, but did not receive a satisfactory response. Many community members, including myself, are concerned about the citizenship test and would benefit greatly from such classes. I would appreciate it if the council could recommend the inclusion of Australian citizenship preparation classes at the Braybrook Library. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Your Worship,
Thank you.
if I may, I believe Councillor Carter's.
Oh, right, okay. Yep, thank you.
You might
Yeah.
just want to check with Councillor Carter there that she can hear
Yeah,
and
okay,
see you.
yeah, I will, yep, okay,
I can hear and see you all.
okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
As to repeat again, as a rule of 72.3 of Councillor Governance Rule, I wish to advise that Councillor Carter is attending this meeting remotely. Councillor Carter, could you repeat that, please? Can you hear us?
Yes,
and
I
see
can
it?
hear and see you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councillor Carter. Okay, can confirm that. We up to the question, and the respondent CEO, would you be
Yes.
able to answer?
Thank you, Mayor. As some residents may be aware, citizenship preparedness sessions were run at the Maribyrnong Libraries previously. I'm trying to find the exact date for that, but I believe it was over 10 years ago. We currently don't have internal expertise to offer this program. However, we are looking at how we could bring in some facilitators to do that, and that's certainly something we're happy to consider to reintroduce this service. We have liaised with our library colleagues, and currently Melton Libraries, which is a long way, I acknowledge that, is the nearest library service offering similar sessions. And we will need to work with Home Affairs on this. So information on the citizen test, including practice test and information about the interview process, can be obtained from the Department of Immigration website, and there are other private services that are available predominantly through immigration lawyers, but I do understand that people would like the council to look at how we could provide that, and as I said earlier, we're certainly willing to look at that and come back to the community on that.
Yep, thank you for that. Question number two, JP services readily available at the library would be great benefit community member who need document certified or witnesses. This would enhance accessibility and convenience for many residents in Braybrook. I kindly ask the council to consider this request and facilitate the provision of JP services at our local library. you like to answer that?
Thank you, Mayor. Justice of the Peace Services, you are correct, were previously available at Braybrook Library, but the volunteer JP has now retired. Maribyrnong Libraries overall, we're currently looking at investigating alternate JPs via the Department of Justice. So we would like to reintroduce that into our libraries. Currently, the nearest JP signing stations are located at Footscray Police Station, Monday and Wednesday 10 to 1, Monday and Thursday 6 p.m. to 8 p.m, and on Wednesdays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m, or at the Sunshine Police Station. There are also a range of other authorised persons that can certify documents, including statutory declarations, such as pharmacists, ordained religious ministers who can perform marriage ceremonies, chiropractors, nurses, dentists, optometrists, school principals, and many others. So for a full list of authorised persons, residents can visit the Justice and Community Safety website, where you can also make an appointment with the Justice of Peace in your suburb. But as I said at the start of that, we are looking to see how we can reintroduce that into our library services. So thank you for raising that matter.
Thank you. Is there, at the end, there's no more question from here?
That is
but do you have
correct.
any other extra question?
No further
No?
questions, Mayor.
Okay, there being no more question, I declare the public question time closed. The confirmation of minutes, agenda 6.1, confirmation of the minute of the council meeting, 21st of May 2024. Can I call for councillor to move that the minute of the 21st May 2024 council meeting to be confirmed? Councillor Thomas? Yep, would you read it?
Yes, forgotten the order. That council confirms the minutes of the council meeting held on 21 May 2024.
Okay, thank you. Could I call for a second? Councillor Train? Are there any question or point of clarification? If not, I will put the motion to the vote. Are those in favour? Thank you, Councillor Carter. I can see you. Okay. There's no other report from the committee. There's no other report from the committee to table at this meeting, and also there's no petition on the table for that meeting today as well.
That's correct.
So agenda 9.1, adoption of the annual budget 2024-2025. Could I call for the councillor to move a motion in regard to agenda item 9.1? Could I? Councillor Tran?
Thank you, Your Worship. Per the officer's recommendation, the Council 1A notes the proposed budget 2024/2025 submissions. B, having considered the submissions received and those heard at the budget submission hearing on 27 May, that should read 2024, resolves to include the following items in the 2024-2025 annual budget to receive funding for the 2024-2025 financial year as follows. $30,000 for Western Chances, in brackets, to support the Western Chances Scholarship Program. $40,000 for Vietnamese Community in Australia Victoria Chapter, in brackets, VCA Vic, to support the 2025 Debt Festival. And $10,000 for Maribyrnong River and Waterways Association to support the employment of the Maribyrnong River Officer. C, thanks all submitters and requests the Chief Executive Officer advise submitters in writing of the outcome of the proposed budget 2024-2025 submission process. 2, adopts the annual budget 2024-2025 and the subsequent 3 years as shown in attachment 1. 3, declares $114,991. Sorry. Can I just double check? That's $114,991,001. Sorry.
Correct.
As the amount which council intends to raise by general rates and charges. A, the general rate be raised by the application of differential rates. B, the following differential rates for the rating period commencing 1 July 2024 and ending 30 June 2025. General rate for rateable residential properties 100% dash 0.00257,093 cents in the dollar of CIV. General rates for rateable commercial properties 135% dash 0.00347,100 cents in the dollar of CIV. General rate for rateable industrial properties 160% 0.004111300 cents in the dollar of CIV. General rates for rateable vacant land, residential 200%, 0.00514200 cents in the dollar of CIV. General rate for rateable vacant land, commercial 300%, 0.00771300 cents in the dollar of CIV. General rate for rateable vacant land, industrial 300%, 0.00771300 cents in the dollar of CIV. General rate for cultural and recreational properties 100%, 0.00257093 cents in the dollar of CIV. 4. Declares a municipal charge of $20 for each rateable property for the rating period commencing 1 July 2024 and ending 30 June 2025. 5. Declares a waste management service charge for waste collection and disposal on each rateable property and non-rateable properties where the service is provided for the period commencing 1 July 2024 and ending 30 June 2025. A. Waste management charge 1, 2 services, $292.30. B. Waste management charge 2, 3 services, $352.30. 6. Grants a rebate to a maximum of $223.30 to all City of Maribyrnong residents eligible to receive a concession through the State Government Municipal Rates Concession Scheme. 7. In recognition of the October 2022 Maribyrnong River flood event, A. Grants each owner of rateable land who meets the eligibility criteria in Part D below a rebate of 50% on the 2024-2025 instalments of the rates and municipal charge upon application, in brackets, noting this rebate does not apply for the State Government Fire Service Levy. B. Grants this rebate to assist in the proper development of the municipal district. C. Notes that this rebate benefits the municipal community as a whole by financially supporting the restoration of flood-affected properties. D. Determines that a person will be eligible to receive the rebate if the person, A, is the owner of a rateable land impacted by the October 2022 flood event. Thank you, CEO. B, makes application to council in the form determined by council's chief executive officer or delegate. And C, provides evidence showing that Roman numeral I, there is a dwelling on the land. Roman numeral II, the dwelling on the land was damaged by the October 2022 flood event. And Roman numeral III, work is required to repair the damage caused to the dwelling on the land by the October 2022 flood event. E, grants each owner of rateable land where the dwelling on the land was required to be demolished and who meets the eligibility criteria in Part D above a rebate of 50% on the vacant residential land rates, provided a certificate of occupancy is obtained within 24 months of the completed building demolition. 8. In recognition of ongoing construction industry issues, grants each owner of rateable land who meets the eligibility criteria a rebate of 50% on residential vacant land whose current differential is 200% to residential ratepayers where A, a certificate of occupancy permit has been issued within 18 months of the completed building demolition, and B, the development has been impacted by a construction company being placed into administration and a certificate of occupancy permit has been issued within 48 months of the completed building demolition, in brackets, noting this rebate does not apply for the State Government Fire Service Levy. And 9, notes that interest on unpaid rates will be charged in accordance with Section 172 of the Local Government Act 1989, in brackets, currently 10%.
Thank you, Councillor Tran. Could I call Councillor to second the motion of the budget? Councillor Simon Crawford. Okay, are there any question or point of clarification, Councillor? Okay, now would like to speak to the motion?
Indeed, Your Worship. Just for the community's sake, before I go into talking about any of the funding which was released in, as stated in paragraph 1B, just go into the more general components. So especially in terms of the October 22 flood relief, Council acknowledges that there is still ongoing anguish, and indeed, Councillor Carter continues to bring it to our mind every time we have a meeting about these sort of things, and reminds us that residents, families and renters alike continue to be placed in a position of disadvantage, and it's really as much as we can, it's really up to us to do as much as we can do to assist each of these individual residents, each of these families, in alleviating them of the distress. We go so far as to acknowledge the current circumstances of the construction industry as well. Originally, and CEO, correct me if I'm wrong, this wasn't really envisaged when it was considered that we would provide rebates for residents who suffered from the floods. But taking into consideration the current financial circumstances of a society, it does make sense for council to take into consideration that construction companies, not just one or two, not just small, but also major construction companies, are going into administration, if not on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis. This affects not just homes, but businesses and councils alike. So it is a shared sentiment across the board. What I will also note is that initial number which I read out at paragraph 3, which is an astonishing number, which I choked on reading, and I looked at Mr. Mark Connor for reassurance that I was reading the correct numbers. Council had a long meeting about how we would go about with rate increases and how we would go about considering the municipal charge as well. CEO, correct me if I'm wrong, our municipal charge has not changed from the previous year.
Correct, Councillor.
Indeed, and it was agreed between the council. I think Councillor Kerr brought it to our mind as well, that it is a charge that is considered, most importantly, correct me if I'm wrong, in an endeavour to cover some of council's costs, particularly council laws.
Yes, and we have the lowest municipal charge in Victoria.
Indeed, save for those who don't have one at all. In terms of the waste management charges as well, for those residents who are unfamiliar, the waste management charge is and has always been a part of our rates. We've just sort of separated them for the time being to provide a bit more transparency. Councils previously have not done this. Maribyrnong City Council is choosing to do this in order to provide transparency to our community. I know there's been questions raised in the past about our ability, our transparency and our willingness to provide residents with clarity as to what their rates are going to. That's a good example of what it is going to, the waste management charge. So we've just separated it out so it's easier to look at, to find. I'll now go to the more of the fun things, especially in terms of the grants that were provided in terms of the Western Chances. Council first provided funding to Western Chances, I believe in 2022, where we heard from their CEO at the time, oh my God, his name eludes me, Zach.
Yes, Lewis.
Zach Lewis, apologies. I should know Zach's last name. Who at the time appeared before council and I thought that we, along with a variety of other councils, assist them in providing these grants, especially for school children. In an area such as ours, where Western Chances supports many of our disadvantaged kids, indeed many of my own friends were lucky enough to be recipients of these scholarship programs. Lucky enough to learn the sponsorship throughout their schooling career, their high school career, but also in terms of university. They received funding for books, and these are people who came from families that were broken, families who were single parents, who lived in homes that did not have basic luxuries. So I applaud council for continuing to support those endeavours of the Western Chances. In terms of the Vietnamese community in Australia, the VCA Vic, I will acknowledge that in our presence tonight, we do have some monuments of the Victorian Vietnamese community, and I appreciate them for being here. I thank them all for their presence, and I also thank them for their submissions. It is greatly appreciated. We hope that this continues to show council support for the local Vietnamese community and for the other multicultural communities in our local municipality. In terms of the $10,000 for the Maribyrnong River and Waterway Association, it again goes towards our dedication towards our environment, sustainability, and more importantly, ensuring that our society, our community, continues to flourish as it should. I believe the rest of the budget submission speaks for itself. I do commend the motion. I commend the work placed into this budget, not just to Mark Conderson, but to all of the staff involved in compiling this report, and to all I actually commend the councillors as well in terms of their efforts in trying to provide our own perspectives and our own guidance in terms of this budget as well. I hope that the community have a good chance to have a read and provide us with the feedback on forward. I know we took a copious amount of budget submissions, but nevertheless, council can always do with more suggestions and more advice from the local community. So I do commend the motion, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Tran. With a second, we'd like to speak to the motion.
Very briefly, I think Councillor Tran's covered it very well, but yeah, just excited to also say that great to have the Vietnamese community in Australia here, some of you with us tonight. Certainly looking forward to Tet Festival next year. I think it's going to be a very exciting one. I know it's a very important one for you, so welcome and congratulations on that. And yes, also the Maribyrnong River and Waterways Association, I think it's really important that we support that. The river we know needs a lot of love. It's a great river. Got a long way to go before it's going to be back to the greatness that it once was. But we need to start somewhere, and I think $10,000 is a good place to start. So yeah, congratulate Council on that.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford.
Thank you.
Any other speaker for the motion? Councillor Thomas?
Yeah, just say a couple of things. It's probably important to note that it wasn't an easy process to go through. I know the staff did a really great job of bringing a balanced budget to council, and I think that's really important to note. So thanks to the CEO and her team for doing that work, which this year felt particularly challenging for us to continue to offer the services to the community that we know are important and we know that the community expects, but also to kind of meet some of the changing expectations of our changing community as well, and that's always a juggling act. But yes, it did feel particularly challenging this year, just with I think that, you know, the rate capping is really starting to bite our budgets, and I think we've done a pretty good job of sort of, again, trying to cover those services, continue our capital works program, which we know is really important for you know, managing the assets we've got, but also building those new assets when we need to, and that's across, you know, open space and buildings and roads and footpaths and gardens and a whole lot of things, which, you know, are really important to the community for their health and well-being and being able to get out and enjoy life. So I would encourage people to have a read, maybe not of the budget proper, but of the companion document. I've forgotten what it's called. It's not companion document. It's the digestible version of the budget, which is attached. What's it called?
It is the companion.
Oh, it is
budget
the companion document. Thank you. To have a read of that, because there's a lot of good, there's information in there which will explain kind of easily in, you know, plain English for people to understand where the money is being spent and how it's being spent and on which services and which programs. And we've also, of course, again this year have our gender equity statement and our climate emergency statement attached to it, so people can see where specifically the money on those two issues is being spent. And you know, we'll have a lot of upgrades to toilets and change rooms in our open space areas, so that they are completely gender inclusive, which I think is a really great step forward. And I think and particularly in the climate emergency statement around removing our facilities off gas, and in particular working towards removing gas from the Aquatic Centre, which is a big gas user, and of course that's a big expense. So have a read, thanks to the staff, and yes, looking forward to spending that money in 2024-25.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I need a speaker for the motion. I'm looking at that. Okay, if not, I would like to say a few words. Oh, hang on. I have to be anyone against for the motion? Anyone against? No? Okay. Before we put into the vote, that I would like to say a few words. Is it CEO? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, firstly, I would like to acknowledge the staff, CEO, and the team, Director Lisa King and Mark, here when the manager looking at the budget and consider very carefully. And I mean, as you do amazing work like this, and I congratulate you and thank you so much for that. I know that Councillor Tran and Councillor Thomas and also Crawford mentioned a little bit about, you know, all the thing we did a cover to recognize, but I do recognize that they suffer from the victim of the flood, and we are still supporting them. I mean, it's until you've been in there, so you know what happened for their life and their stress and anxiety going to their house. And also I would like to congratulate to the submitter who Western Chains, support them. The Western Chains scholarship program is very important for the young people and encourage people to continuing with their career, their study. $10,000 for Maribyrnong River Waterway Association and to support employment of the Maribyrnong River officer. And also $40,000 for the Vietnamese community in Australia to Victoria chapter to support the 2025 TED Festival. You might aware that is Vietnamese community contributing a lot to our council. It's from business, from resident, and a number of them, from health and welfare and business sector. So also the association working tirelessly to organizing festival to showcase of that how Vietnamese contribution to Australia is why and Victoria and the Maribyrnong. So I congratulating their successful funding submitter. Talking about how the report, as you know that a couple of weeks ago, CEO and I, we went to Sydney to receiving a gold medal award from the whole Australasia award, and we are out reporting the submission was winning. This is 8th year annual report for 8 years. So there's a mayor and the CEO and a couple of staff members from that section to come, and we really appreciate that and really very proud to when people call our name there. And I mean, even we beat other council here in Victoria. So the other council only number 2 or silver award, and we are gold. So I feel very proud of that. And this opportunity that I would like to express sincere thank you to the CEO and the staff who putting so much work into that and make that happen. And we are heritage. We are councillor, a mayor, and deputy mayor. We are heritage for that your credit work. So thank you so much again for that. So now I said that I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? We have all anonymous. Thank you so much, Councillor. I declare the motion is carried. Thank you. Congratulations to VCA Vic and other organisations here tonight. You can, happy to stay or you can leave, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, VCA. Now, agenda item 9.2, existing Footscray Hospital Advocacy Plan. I call for the Councillor to move the motion in regard into agenda item 9.2. Councillor Crawford.
The Council, 1, note the engagement with the community between 25 March and 21 April regarding the draft existing Footscray Hospital Advocacy Plan, shown at attachment 2. 2, adopt the existing Footscray Hospital Advocacy Plan 2024, in brackets the plan, shown at attachment 1 as Council's formal position for the future use and development of the current Footscray Hospital site. 3, note that the recommendations contained in the plan will direct the future use and development of the council-owned 1.5 hectare southern car park. 4, request that the Mayor write to the Premier of Victoria, Minister for Planning, Minister for Health, Minister for Footscray and Western Metropolitan Region MPs seeking to meet to discuss the plan and how best council can work with the state to deliver on the plan's objectives. And 5, note that officers will use the plan to advance discussions with state representatives regarding council's objectives and ambitions for the site.
Thank you, Councillor. I call to account for the second motion. Councillor Thomas. Are there any questions upon the clarification, Councillor? Okay, would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly to firstly thank staff for putting this together, but even more so to residents that have contributed to this. We know that this is something that local residents, probably all Maribyrnong residents, but particularly local residents are very passionate about. We had the group come and talk to us a few months back about their proposal that they'd sort of developed with the local community, and that's really had an impact on on the plan that we're putting forward. So, yeah, I think it's been a great bit of deliberative engagement with our community, and it's exciting, and I think we've come up with a good plan. I'm hoping that the state will take it very seriously, but it's sort of all in their court now, see what they come back with.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Okay. Would the second would like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, just say a couple of things. I think this is a really good example of council and the community working together and sort of being in sync with the vision that we have, the collective and shared vision that we have for the future of this site. And it's the community group that sort of presented ideas and ran their own consultation, called Reimagining the Old Footscray Hospital site, and I think they did a really good job of talking to the community and gathering information, and then bringing that to council and working really well with the council officers. So I think that was a fantastic process, and I think now we can go to the state government advocating as a sort of a united council community coalition. And getting those outcomes on, open space, mostly passive open space, and on truly affordable housing, and arts and culture and active transport, and like making it, a real community that people will want to come and, live in or recreate in. And so yes, similar to Councillor Crawford, it's balls in the state government's court once we hand this over, and we really hope that they engage with us seriously and in a meaningful way over the future of the site, so that it can really sort of bring back a lot of value to existing residents, but also the new residents who will hopefully move in there one day in the not too distant future. So thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Any speakers for the motion? Councillor Hawke.
Just briefly, really, first of all, to concur with Councillors Crawford and Thomas about the importance, really, of the community input into this, which reflected by the group that took that initiative. But also, I think it's anecdotally, it reflects what our community, as Councillor Crawford, more generally, our community in Maribyrnong would like to see, and in particular that emphasis mentioned already by Councillor Thomas around public space. Green public space in particular, and also around housing. And I like the fact that in this advocacy plan we've been quite specific about the sort of a minimum, if you like, of the figure we have, 30% minimum of social and affordable housing, and also importantly a minimum of 20% for low and very low in those two categories of affordable housing, because as we know from other conversations we've had around development permits in this chamber, affordable housing, capitalised as it is by the state government, can mean a lot of things, including very unaffordable housing. So the emphasis that we put in this advocacy around that 20% for low and very low, I think, is particularly important. So really to commend the advocacy report. And one other thing I'd say too is I think one thing that's left for us as a council to reflect on a little bit and consider and discuss, and probably really for the new council coming in next year, is how we use as leverage in this advocacy our tiny little parcel of space that we've got on that site, because I think that could be quite an important bit of leverage in the advocacy work if we can sort of get out ahead in visioning what that might look like. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Hawke. Any other speaker for the motion? Okay. Are there any speaker against the motion? No. I would like to say a few words. As a mayor, I'm very happy to write to the Premier of Victoria and Minister for the Planning, Minister for Health, and member of Footscray, and the Western Metropolitan MP. We are working very closely with them and very good relationship with them. I'm sure I will raise it at any meeting that we have an opportunity to. Thank you very much. Now I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? No against. Thank you. I declare the motion is carried. Agenda 9.3, Council submission to the State Government consultation on developing a plan for Victoria. Can I call for the Councillor to move motion in regard to agenda item 9.3? Yeah. Councillor? Councillor Tran.
Thank you, Your Worship. Per the officer's recommendation that Council 1 endorse the submission as shown in attachment 1 to the State Government Consultation on Developing a Plan for Victoria. 2, request that the Mayor write to the Minister for Planning providing a copy of Council's submission. And 3, authorise the Manager of City Development to provide a copy of Council's submission to the Department of Transport and Planning and liaise with department staff to advocate for Council's position in the submission.
Thank you, Councillor Tran. Would the councillor move for the second? I call a councillor to move the second motion. Second. Councillor Thomas. Are there any questions or point of clarification? Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Only briefly, Mayor. I believe, actually before I begin, I'd like to thank Council staff for their efforts in preparing these submissions. For the community and for those who may not have the time to read through Council's submission, and it's completely understandable if you do not. The submission carries on 3 or 4 key themes which pertain to our municipality. The first being self-determination and caring for country. Quite easily, quite identifiable, this is about First Nations people and including them in the decision-making process. In fact, in processes that affect the lands and our waterways, Council has actively sought and continues to seek the engagement of our local Indigenous community and continues to seek reconciliation, and more importantly, seeks to have them engaged in processes, especially where it is most appropriate for them to be there. Discussion about lands and waterways is most certainly in that conversation. As Councillor O'Carroll has alluded to before, questions about housing affordability and choice, it continues to be one of but every municipality's biggest challenge, that is providing optimal housing for each of our residents, whether it be the typography or even the range and the scope of the pricing. We want to ensure that our residents, young and old, can continue to live in a municipality and that we can continue to grow in a way that is sustainable for them as well. Theme number 3 is about creating jobs and equity. Council laws will be very well aware that many of our school students and many of our youth groups, in particular MIAC, the Maribyrnong Youth Advisory Committee, have had these conversations with council laws either individually or jointly about the need to create more jobs and foster those jobs for our young, and not just for our young, but our culturally diverse as well, not just in terms of ethnicity, but in terms of identity, and in terms of, I think identity is the best way to word it. It is something that Council is proud of, having a diverse community, but we want to ensure that they, again, are able to live in our community, thrive in our community. Providing housing and providing jobs and equal opportunities is one of those key aspects that we need to achieve. And the 4th theme is the theme that Council embodies in Council's own council plan, and that is livable and thriving neighbourhoods, whether it be the question of a 20-minute city, whether it be a question of sustainable development. These are all components which not just the City of Maribyrnong, but I believe all councils wish to embody and wish to advocate to the state government and federal government about. In this instance, we're advocating to the Victorian government, so I'll only have it pertain to that. But it is something that residents can be assured Council has taken great consideration in writing and in preparing these submissions. And more importantly, it takes into consideration Council's current perspectives on each of these different themes as well. I do apologise, there's a 5th theme, which I seem to have missed, and it is about our sustainable environments and climate action. Council has acted on this from the very beginning, whether it be about our air pollution readers, whether it be about, especially Councillor Crawford, who's adamantly ensured that councils don't forget that we need to get more EV chargers, which, got to admit, is a great advocacy point, Council, and which residents have continued to haggle us about as well. I know the council has one of our very first installations at the old town hall, and that it continues to be in high demand ever since, and we continue to work alongside our fellow our major shareholders and minor shareholders as well, in order to ensure that we're able to have that combination work between private and public sector to ensure that we can provide for our residents. For those who do find the time to read it, please do. I won't go into too much depth, but that is, in very brief, what these submissions are themed on, and I commend the motion, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Tran. Would the seconder would like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll just say a couple of things. I think this is a really important time for Maribyrnong to provide this submission to the state, given that I think it was yesterday or on the weekend, you know, we've just been advised that we will grow in population by 114% above, you know, and that's well above, I guess, the plans that, you know, we're sort of working to in terms of how the population will grow over from now until 2050. So it's really important timing, I think. And what I like about this submission is that the themes that Councillor Tran read out, the officers haven't sort of just outlined them in isolation of each other. They've outlined them in an integrated way. So how does housing impact on health and wellbeing? How does active transport impact on economy and jobs? You know, it's really, I think it's a really good example of taking an integrated approach to sort of planning in its broader sense for how the municipality will look, you know, between now and 2050 and how those changes will roll out. And we really do need to influence state government thinking on this, I think, because as we refer to ourselves as the Inner West Metropolitan Region, and I think that's a really key point. The Western Suburbs is an enormous region in itself, and as the smallest council in that region, we can often be sort of overlooked because of those huge needs in the outer west. But if we're going to grow by 114%, you know, we do actually have quite a lot of need ourselves in, you know, in different ways. We're very close to the city. We're the gateway to the west, to the rest of the western suburbs, but we do have our own special and distinct needs. So thanks for putting this together. I think hoping that it will be able to influence some decision making by the state.
Thank you. Are there a speaker for the motion? Councillor Holgate.
Yeah, I think as has been reflected already by both Councillor Tran and Councillor Thomas, it's a long report, a long submission, and these sort of submissions can seem maybe a bit mundane or tick boxes, but I think this is a particularly critical one. And just following up and reflecting a little bit on a point of two preceding councillors have already made. This Plan Victoria replaces Plan Melbourne. Now, I think the important thing about this submission is it's a submission not only to Plan Victoria, but really it's to a conversation. As soon as Plan Victoria came out, there was immediate critique of it by a lot of planning academics, principally from Melbourne Union and other places. And one of the main critiques made of it was not so much of the specific content, but of the fact that I think as the Associate Professor for Planning at Melbourne Uni, Crystal Legacy, put it, we're good at producing these plans, but we're not good at actually adhering to them. And she went on to say that basically, as with Plan Melbourne, not much was really adhered to, and the whole continuing sprawl out westwards just continued unabated, really, despite suggestions otherwise in the old Plan Melbourne. I think this submission into this conversation is really important for our council for the reasons already sort of discussed by, in particular, Councillor Thomas. I just wanted to highlight, though, within our submission, 4 points that I think are important just for the community to realise are there and give thought to, I suppose. One we've already talked about at length, which is the whole issue of equitable access to safe housing for low-income households. That's going to be, in the context of a housing crisis, particularly critical that an area like ours that has accessibility to services and so forth and to public transport have accessible and equitable housing options. But that we've talked about quite a bit. The other one, which though is in there and could easily get lost, but I think is important, is the point made in our submission that we urge the state government in this plan to make active transport the preferred means of transport and more convenient than vehicles. That's particularly important in such a congested space as is the Inner West, where if we're projecting an almost doubling of population and you go with that an almost potential doubling of cars, or certainly a massive increase, in tiny streets, I mean, we've all driven down Summerhill Road and the other tiny streets we have, it's just unworkable. So that point, I think it's really important that is in our submission. Councillor Tran's already talked about our emphasis in the submission around climate action, and also I'd just add to that, and obviously paired with that is our emphasis in the submission around air quality interventions, real air quality interventions, given what we know of all the reports that have continuously come out about the pollution and bad quality of our air here in the inner west. But just to finish, I think, yeah, it is, it might seem like a tick box exercise, but I think it's a very important submission, and I think our officers have done a really good job on it.
Thank you, Councillor Hawkins. Any other speaking for the motion? Okay, any speak against the motion? No. Yeah, as a mayor again, I'm happy to write a letter to the Minister for Planning and provide a council submission. So, great to do that, yeah. Thank you. Now, I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Noes again. I declare the motion is carried. The agenda item 9.4, Footscray Park update, Playspace and Thomson Water Garden. Can I call for the councillor to move the motion in regard to agenda item 9.4? Councillor Tran?
Your Worship, that per officer's recommendation, the council notes the June 2024 progress in the Footscray Park Playspace and Thomson Water Gardens in accordance with the 12 December 2023 council resolution. Your Worship.
Okay, right. Thank you. Could I call for councillor to second the motion? Councillor Crawford? I just want to check that if Councillor Carter, can you hear? Can you see? Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any question or clarification, Councillor? Would the mover would like to speak to the motion?
Formally moved, Chair.
Yeah, okay. Would the second would like to speak for the motion?
Just say that we know that we've had challenges in the past communicating our intentions for this space, so we're just trying to be really transparent with this. There's no decision to make as such, it's more a noting, but that's why we've brought this one to the meeting, just to make sure that the community are very clear and understanding of our intentions down at Footscray Park, and yeah, hopefully people understand our intentions due to you know, some of the events that have happened there with the drownings and of course the flooding as well. So there's been some really you know, terrible things that have happened down in that space which have been largely out of our control. So we're doing our best to try to rectify that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Crawford. Okay. Any speaker for the motion? Councillor Hawkins?
Really just briefly following up on that, I think, yeah, this is important work. I think the main thing I wanted to say, I think we referred to in one of the previous reports, the one on advocacy around the old Footscray hospital site. I think the role of community groups such as Friends of Footscray Park, you know, is an important one for us to continue that collaboration with. I think we've got somewhere with that work like we have with other groups, and I think it's important that we continue to build on that. The only other thing, I think, I can't remember where it was, might be able to, but somewhere in, it was very long. I think in one of the master plan maybe, I think it'd be worth referring, it was one of the images, I think it'd be worth referring to sporting and playing fields, you know, when we're talking about the Western Lawn, because it, you know, a lot of it's free play as well. So I think referring to, you know, making it clear that, you know, whatever sort of little group of cricket players get there on Sunday, you know, it's as much that as organised sport. So just a reference thing, it's really just in the images, I think.
Okay. Any speaker for the motion? Any speaker against the motion? Now I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare the motion is carried. Agenda item 9.5, proposing lease agreement Yarraville Footscray Bowling Club Incorporated. Can I call for the councillor to move the motion in regard to the agenda item 9.5? Councillor Thomas?
Thanks. That Council 1, pursuant to Section 115 of the Local Government Act 2020, A, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or their delegate to commence the required statutory procedures to consider entering into the lease. B, authorise the commencement of the community engagement process in accordance with Council's community engagement policy pursuant to Section 115 of the Act, involving a public notice of the proposed lease in a local newspaper, on Council's website and sent to surrounding properties. C, note that the proposed lease terms are set out as below. 1. Tenant, Yarraville Footscray Bowling Club Inc. 2. Premises, 339A Francis Street, Yarraville. Key lease terms during the initial term. 3. Term 8 years. 4. Permitted use, lawn bowls, restaurant, cafe and gaming facility. 5. Rental, $68,104 per annum plus GST. 6. Rental increases, 3% increase per annum. 7. Rent reimbursement in the event that the tenant carries out capital works which provide a direct community benefit to support lawn bowls activities. The tenant will be eligible to apply for a rent reimbursement equal to 10% of the capital expenditure, capped at 50% of the total annual rental cost. 8. The requirement for the tenant to develop and provide to council for approval on or before the second anniversary of the commencement date a transition plan to remove gambling from the premises by 2032 and adhere to the transition plan during the term. Key lease terms during the further term, which exclude gaming from the premises. 9. Further term, 5 years. 10. Permitted use, lawn bowls, restaurant and cafe. 11. Rental, community subsidised rental to be determined based on criteria within council's lease and licence policy. 12. Rental increases, 3% increase per annum, or such other or alternate terms as determined to be reasonably necessary by council's chief executive officer to conclude negotiations with the tenant on the proposed lease. D. Note that the public notice is for a minimum period of 28 days and provides the option for any submitters to request as part of their written submission to be heard by a committee consisting of the whole of council on the 5th of August 2024 at 6:30 p.m. if required. 2. Note that once all submissions forming part of the community engagement process pursuant to section 115 of the Act have been considered, a further report will be presented to council to decide whether or not to enter into the proposed lease.
Okay.
Done.
Thank you, Councillor. Now, could I call for the second, Councillor second to the motion? Could I have a Councillor Crawford? Are there any questions upon the clarification? Councillor, would the mover would like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. Look, there's no doubt that this is a much loved club by particularly the local community, particularly those people who like to play lawn bowls, and you know, council's supportive of the work that you know, the club does in supporting a number of community groups, but the revenue that's derived from gambling at the club is an issue, and it's one that we need to recognise in terms of the kinds of harm that gambling does bring to our local community, and particularly for those people who have experienced harm sort of at the extremes where gambling has become an addiction for them. It's particularly problematic. So I'm really pleased to see, I know the officers have done a lot of work with the club in getting us to this point where part of the lease agreement includes a transition plan to remove gambling from the site by 2032. I think we've given the club, you know, plenty of time to sort of work through what that might look like and sort of research and develop alternative business models that don't rely on gambling, so that they can continue that work that they do in supporting the community. So I really want to thank officers for the work that I know, the hard work that I know that they've done with the club, and for the club for sort of coming to this agreement, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what that transition plan looks like in up to 2 years' time. So
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would the seconder would like to speak to the motion?
Very briefly, I think Councillor Thomas has covered it pretty well. Again, agree, Yarraville Footscray Bowling Club's a great club. You know, I've been there multiple times for a meal, in a roll of bowls. It's great sport for all ages, but particularly including our older residents. So, yeah, very important club, very important facility. it's just something that's, when we're talking about council land, we don't need to have gambling on council land. In a way, it sort of makes us complicit as well, because we're indirectly benefiting from gambling. And I mean, we've already got the government being a massive addict of gambling. Its budgets each year are propped up from massive gambling revenues. So I think we need to set the example that government shouldn't be in the gambling business, and yeah, it's important that we provide these facilities without that. Like, I know I go there and you see people just sitting on their own, just putting money into the pokies, and it's just sad that they could be using their money and their time for much better things. I know some people go there and just have a bit of fun, and that's fine, but there will still be other opportunities for people to do that. You just don't need to do it on council public land. So I think this is a good motion. I also like to thank the officers and the club for coming to this agreement, and yeah, I think that it will help to make our community all the stronger for the outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Are there any speaker for the motion? Any speaker against the motion? I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? I declare the motion is carried. Agenda item 9.6, Municipal Association of Victoria, August 2024 State Council motion. Could I call for the councillor to move the motion in regarding to our agenda item 9.6? Councillor Thomas?
Yep, that council approve the motions for submission to the May 2024 State Council of the Municipal Association of Victoria, as shown in table 1 of this report.
Thank you. I call for the councillor to second the motion. Councillor Trent? Are there any questions point of clarification, councillor? No, would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Really just to probably reinforce what's in the report that was prepared by officers. We've got quite a range of motions, I think, one around including local government in worker protection consultation, around cost shifting from state to local governments of statutory planning processes, properly funding maternal and child health services, and revising the definition of affordable housing. I think hopefully we'll have support from the other councils across the state for these motions, because they're not, of course, just impacting on Maribyrnong. They will definitely, these issues have a statewide impact, which is one of the rules of bringing a motion. But particularly important, and particularly those ones around funding, given what I said earlier about having such a tight budget. So thanks for officers for preparing these, and let's hope we do get the support from other councils.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would the second would like to speak for the motion?
Former seconded.
Thank you. Are there speaker for the motion? Are there speaker against the motion? I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? No against, so I declare the motion is carried. Agenda item 9.7, City Sustainability Council Plan 2021 to 25 Annual Update. Can I call for the councillor to move the motion in regarding to agenda item 9.7? Councillor Thomas?
Yep, sorry, I'm on the right page. That council note the progress of the council plan 2021 to 2025 actions 1.1.1 to 1.1.4, 1.2.1, 1.2.3 and 2.4.1 in the 2023-24 financial year.
Thank you. Could I call for the council to second the motion? Councillor Crawford? Are there any question or point of clarification, councillor? Would the mover would like to speak to the motion?
I'll say a few words, and I'm not going to. There's a whole lot in this this report, because it covers council's climate emergency strategy, it covers the towards zero waste strategy, and the air quality improvement plan. So there's a lot in there, and and I was the councillor that asked that we could bring it to the chamber so that this could be, I guess, celebrated, the work that the officers have done in collaboration with the community. I think it tells a really positive story of council's sort of evolution of taking up its responsibilities across climate emergency, waste and air quality. And a couple of highlights for me, I think, are, you know, I think as I mentioned before, you know, moving towards getting off natural gas, which I think, particularly at the MAC, having a plan for doing that, because that's going to have an enormous impact on our greenhouse emissions as an organisation and as a community. Working through climate risk and climate adaptation, preparing climate adaptations plans and working through council's climate resilience. Having the Climate Emergency Australia Conference was a really highlight. Council co-hosted that with Vic Uni and it was a really successful day. And something else which I'm personally really interested in, which is looking at drawdown, because whilst we can mitigate, you know, we can put in mitigation actions, we can adapt to the impacts of climate change. Part of that, and a really key part of that, which is not talked about very often, is drawing down emissions from the atmosphere. And I think, you know, not all councils are looking at drawdown, but we are. It's a really key part of our climate emergency strategy and action plan. And I know that officers are working collaboratively with other councils, looking at how we can perhaps collectively draw down, but also looking, you know, locally at Maribyrnong around how we do our street tree planning and our biodiversity strategy and urban forest strategy and how they all integrate. So I could talk all day, but I won't. I guess one of the other key points, I think, particularly from the air quality improvement plan, was the, you know, that we are consistently now advocating to state government on these issues, either with the community or on our own as council. And we're getting, you know, some traction on that, which is really great. And earlier this year, the air quality improvement workshop, which Maribyrnong led on behalf of Brimbank and Hobsons Bay councils, we had a very good response there from community members, but also sort of professionals working across councils and in other groups as well, bringing community expertise with council's expertise. So, and that was a really positive event. So it's a great read. I really recommend people having a read, and it will be, of course, the minutes of the meeting will be up on the website, but I do believe, if I could just check with the CEO, that there'll be like an action plan report up on the website for the community to have a read.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would the second would like to speak?
Yeah, just to reiterate that residents are probably aware of a lot of the business as usual stuff that council does, the everyday operations, which, you know, lots of really great services. But this motion and the next two motions about how we can do things better. We know we're doing a lot of great things, but we know there's always more that we can do. And, you know, as much as our budgets will allow, we're, you know, we're going to try to improve as much as we can to make Maribyrnong as great a place to live as possible. So, yeah, I really encourage residents to have a look at those updates. They're not strategies, the strategies are already adopted. These are just updates on how officers are going with implementing those strategies, and, you know, there's a lot of really good work being done. So thanks to the officers for doing the work, preparing the reports, and I really encourage residents to have a look at them and see where we're up to. And, you know, if you've got ideas for how we could do things even better, great, let us know, because that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Okay, any speaker for the motion? Councillor Hawkey.
Just briefly, because as Councillor Thomas said, I mean, there's a lot there that we can talk about for ages. I just think, well, thank Councillor Thomas for suggesting this be brought to the chamber, because I mean, how much more important can you get? Really, rates, roads and rubbish won't mean much, you know, in a climate emergency if we don't get this stuff right. And of course, like all urban councils, we're perhaps not at the coalface like so many regional and particularly coastal councils are, and will be the next, forget 20 years, it'll be the next 3, 4, 5 years. we might not be at that sort of coalface, although that said, you couldn't say that to the victims of the Maribyrnong floods. But the reality is, it's critical business, critical daily business for local government. The only thing in particular things I wanted to highlight, obviously it's already been mentioned, I think, the establishment of the Climate Emergency Advisory Committee, which will start meeting this coming month in July. I think that's really important, the involvement of the community. And on that point too, one of the things mentioned there is the installation in the, all the reports, the installation of a new air quality monitoring sensor at Ashley Street underpass in Tottenham. A few people in the community have mentioned to me the importance of these. And going forward, I do wonder whether we could do a bit more, perhaps with that sort of strategy, I suppose, of air quality monitors. And in particular, I'm thinking of the programs that have been running now for probably over a decade in a number of states in India, where those monitors are connected to basically big signs, so community knows what's going on. Just like we've got those speed signs on Berkeley Street, we should have signs connected to our air quality monitors that say, today is not a healthy day to be out on the street. Recently I've been visiting a couple of schools, and the low, thinking about a school that's was sort of part of an investigation by Deakin Uni around air quality. I won't mention the school's name, but when you look at some of the low enrolments in some of these schools, you have to wonder whether a contributing factor is parents seeing those studies and seeing what's happening to kids in those schools and thinking, well, I'm not going to send my kid there given that asthma rates are significantly higher, as proven by that particular study referenced there. Just a final point, also touched on by Councillor Thomas, on the land use and drawdown, there's a lot of great stuff there that's reported on. I just wanted to highlight too that as part of all this work, we've got another opportunity which will be coming to council soon around nature strips, which is another big opportunity for us to impact in this regard by way of increasing vegetation in the municipality and contributing to that potential drawdown and land use for that purpose. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Holgate. Any other speaking against, support the motion? No. Any other councillors speak against for the motion? No. Okay. Well, I would like to say a few words. The climate change conference of our working partnership with VU is very successful. I attended and make a speech about on that day, and so we able to working very closely with VU and other council, and that's amazing to see so many staff from council and councillor attend the event, so it shows how important that climate change into the community. So I really appreciate and thank you so much for the staff who involved and who to have to set up on that conference. So I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? There's no again. I declare the motion is carried. The agenda item 9.8, the City Future Council Plan 2021-25 Annual Update. Can I call for Councillor to move the motion in regard to agenda item 9.8? Councillor Trent?
That per the office's recommendation that council note the progress of the council plan 2021-2025 actions 2.3.1, 2.3.2, 2.3.3, 2.3.4, 3.2.7 and 4.2.1 in the 2023-2024 financial year.
Thank you. Could I call for the councillor to second the motion? Councillor Thomas? Are there any questions or point of clarification, councillor? Okay. With the mover, would like to speak to the motion?
Indeed, Your Worship. First and foremost, would like to thank the responsible director and the responsible author for these. For this particular report, to Ms. Minty and to Ms. Francesca O'Brien for all of your work. Fran, I've been a big fan of your work and your team's work for quite a long time, especially considering that throughout the year of this council term at least, you've brought to the forefront associations which originally weren't there. In terms of the Cotton Mills Association, glad to bring them out of the works finally. I know it might not be mentioned here, I haven't had a chance to have a look through. But the Cotton Mills is a historical part of the city of Maribyrnong and houses some of the most terrific white-collar IT-based developments, spanning from the games that are developed there all the way up to the cheese fromageries that are inside our cotton mills, which, Your Worship, I dare say you should probably have a visit. But I also note the tremendous amount of work that has gone into our existing programs, whether it's the Love Your West, or whether it's the Festival Cities program, or whether it's the bid grants. There are a whole variety of different projects which I appreciate have now been brought to the forefront, but ordinarily go flown under the radar. I actually spoke to Fran prior to the council meeting. He said, I just want to get my work done quite quietly. But I appreciate it when council officers get their work appreciated. I know that I know Councillor Clark loves to heap the praise on Mr. Mark O'Connor, but I believe our other council officers and directors also deserve some praise as well for their work. It is quiet work. It is under the radar a lot of the time and underappreciated, but council laws always have an appreciation for it, and I hope the community do as well. Our local businesses continue to thrive thanks to these sort of programs. For the community and for those who may not have the time to read it, again, for the sake of brevity, if you haven't read through the report, you'll see that there are a variety of grants that have been provided. For example, the Signature Festivals and Activation Grants, circa $390,000 were provided to different organisations. Of that particular grant, $270,000 was provided in the Signature Festival stream. In terms of the Playspace initiative stream, there's $120,000 which was provided, and that just goes on and on and on. It doesn't go to speak to the Fringe Festival, the Jazz West, and all those other festivals which the city of Maribyrnong continues to love and endorse. Evidenced in the fact that we just agreed to grant $40,000 for the Dance Festival, Worship, a festival that's been running since I was born, a good 20-something years. Again, I just want to congratulate the staff for the work and heap some praise on those who ordinarily fly in the shadows and bring them to the light from time to time.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Tran. Would the second would like to speak to the motion? Councillor
Yeah, I'll just say one or two quick things. I think what this work shows is that Maribyrnong is definitely a destination, and the festivals program and the activation program and all the grants that we do collectively, it has not just a social and a cultural impact across our community, but it also has a pretty strong economic impact as well, which is really important for maintaining our, CBD areas, and for having opportunities locally for people to gather and recreate and spend some money, but also, enjoy themselves together, which is really important. And probably the second thing I wanted to say is that you can see in this report sort of integrating how the work that council does across all of its services are integrated, and there's a couple of in this report it mentions the air quality sensors and the EV charging stations, which of course has links to the previous report from the city sustainability work, and having some sustainability focused art events, having some LGBTQI focused events that were funded through one of the programs contained in this report. I think it's really important just to note that that our programs are integrated as much as they can, and that adds to the diversity of our community and to the types of outcomes and impacts that we can have across the community in programs like this. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any speaker for the motion? Any speaker against the motion? I would like to say a couple words. Congratulations to the directors, acting director Ashley Ministry and also with friends and all the team. They work so much hard. I have been able to attend a number of festivals and really love it. And I think not only me, but a lot of people, participants, not only love all the festival, and that's why we're so proud that we are Festival City initiated by Councillor Carter many years ago. So we flow into it, and I think individual went to the festival, music, whether music festival or taste festival or the Sun Theatre program or Quang Minh Temple. Also the street festival as mini Footscray night market as well. So it's I think when you can see the people come together, and I receive a lot of compliment from the residents, say that is a wonderful thing to do. It's a festival, and we really and so much hardworking from the staff point of view. I can see that Frank and her staff member attended weekday and weekday and weekend as well. So it's a hard work and put into their effort, and we want to the Festival City and also own way to be like a family event, and everybody come and bring their family, and even people come from interstate come over as well. So they say they can learn from that, from our festival, and I'm so very, very, very proud of that. So also I would like to share with you that today I'm able to sign a document, MOU with Memorandum of Understanding with Victoria University. You can see that we, from the time to time, we do working together with VU and have very good partnership and friendship with them today. The Vice Chancellor, Mr. Wayne Noonan, and other his staff come over and with us, me and the CEO, and also with some staff member, director there, and we signed the MOU today as well. So it's really great to say that we work in a partnership with them and to supporting each other. So just want to share that with you. And now I would like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? There's no again. So I declare the motion is carried. Agenda item 9.9, Committee to Serve at Council Plan 2021 to 25 Annual Update. Can I call for Councillor to move the motion in regard to agenda item 9.9? Councillor Thomas?
That Council notes the progress of Council Plan 2021-2025 actions, 2.1.1, 3.2.4, 3.4.1, 3.5.1, 3.5.2, 4.2.3 and 5.1.2 in the 2023-24 year.
Thank you, Councillor. Could I call for Councillor to second the motion? Councillor Tran? Are there any questions upon the clarification, Councillor? No. Would the mover would like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I just want to, thanks Mayor, I'd just like to highlight a few things. Last week our new Arts Advisory Committee met, and as the chair of that, we've got a very exciting committee, and which is good because we've got a very exciting arts program, and a couple of things out of this. Our Streetworks program is going great guns, and from strength to strength. I think we had an extra 10 murals installed over the recent months, and the public art program is really strong, and I think that just goes to show we've got a lot of art that is very accessible to people, that's free. You can walk around, you can go and have a look at it, and they're really wonderful programs. We're continuing our commitment to gender equity by, doing the gender impact assessments that we do. I mean, we need to do them under legislation, but we're making sure that we are doing them for all of all the major projects and things where there's going to be a big impact on the community. And of course, our libraries in particular are thriving, and the neighbourhood houses that council provides support to are thriving. They're all sort of bursting at the seams with a wonderful array of programming that meets the particular needs of the communities in which they're located. So we've got a lot to offer in our arts and culture and community services area for the community, and and it's part of what makes Maribyrnong a great place to live. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would like to speak to the motion?
Only briefly, Your Worship, Councillor Thomas has said everything which needs to be said in relation to this, but I again would like to heap some praise on and shed some light on Mr. Gosling and his team, and to the author of this particular report, to Belinda. Thank you so much for your efforts. Council Laws can express our gratitude for the works that are put into these types of reports, the thought and consideration that is put into preparing the strategies, and the particular committees which the likes of Councillor Thomas now sits on. I'm sure Councillor Thomas appreciates, and as do all councillors, those who make up that committee and those who continue to support the council as we go forward. So thank you so much for your efforts and your work.
Thank you, Councillor Tran. Any speaker for the motion? Anyone speak against the motion? I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? I declare the motion is carried. Now, agenda item 9.10, 2025 council meeting schedule. I call for the councillor to move motion in regard to the agenda item 9.10. Councillor Crawford.
The council adopt the 2025 council and delegated committee meeting schedule as shown in table 1.
Can I call for councillor second the motion? Councillor Thomas? Are there any questions upon the clarification, councillor? Would the mover would like to speak to the motion?
Formally moved.
Thank you. Would the second would like to speak for the motion?
Formally seconded.
Thank you. Are there to speak against the motion? Okay, now I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? I just seen on the screen there, Sarah, Councillor Carter, are you still there? Oh, it disappeared. Okay, can you make a note of that? Thank you. I declare the motion is carried. Agenda item 9.11, Governance Report, May 2024. Can I call for councillor to move the motion in regard to agenda item 9.11? Councillor Thomas?
That council notes the May 2024 governance report containing the record of informal meetings of councillors and councillor delegates to be made available on council's website for the term of the current council.
Thank you. Could I call for the councillor to second the motion? Councillor Tran? Are there any questions upon the clarification, councillor? No. Would the mover would like to speak to the motion?
Formally moved.
Would the second would like to speak for the motion?
Formally seconded, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. I need to speak against for the motion. Can you speak against the motion? Now I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? I declare the motion is carried. Noted a motion, advise councillor, no, not a motion to be tabled at this meeting. CEO?
Yes.
No, okay. Councillor question time. We now moved into the councillor question time. Questions asked by councillor must be according with Rule 53.5 of the governance rule. Councillor question time is limited to 15 minutes unless an extension is resolved by council. Is there any, councillor, any question times?
Actually,
Yes.
I did have one.
Yes, councillor.
And it's perhaps for the, maybe for the CEO. Councillors have had a lot of emails today in particular about the motion that we passed in relation to Gaza some time ago, and people are mostly asking about whether we've written to the, I think under the, in the motion was writing to the Prime Minister, and I think the timing around a report coming back to council about, you know, contracts in relation to Israel. So I did just wonder whether you
Yes.
had it, you know
Yes,
where
through
that's
the
up to.
chair.
Or, yeah.
I can confirm we did write to the Prime Minister and the Minister,
I did.
the Mayor, in November last year. So Penny Wong and the Prime Minister we needed to write to. We have done that. We haven't received a response, but that is not unusual when you write to the Prime Minister to not always receive a response.
That's right.
Given, I suppose, the volume, we have completed all the tasks. We except the one that says receives a report to explore options for council to cancel contracts with companies that support Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine or profit from it, especially companies which supply equipment to the Israeli Defence Force. So that report is quite involved. We are attempting to do it in-house because we don't have funds to contract that out. And we are working also with officers at Marybeck Council who are doing a similar report, and that report isn't completed yet. But yes, we will be reporting back to Council, and I expect that will be most likely at the August meeting. But I might just look at the Corporate Services Director to see whether I'm pushing things too hard with that one.
Ideally, CEO would like to do that in the term of this council.
Okay, great, thank you. That's
Thank
great.
you, CEO. Any other questions? So I declare the council question time closed. Urgent business. Councillor, any item proposing urgent business for consideration? No? Okay. So I call for council to move the urgent business if you don't have any, so that's fine. Now, closing a business for public consideration. This is a confidential business. The item 13.1, Chief Executive Officer, interim performance review. Could I call staff, only councillor be here, and the public, and the recording live stream to be terminate, and we close for a few minutes, and if you have to... So to release the confidential information, I advise the agenda 13.1 council resolution is confidential and not to be released to the public. Now, close the meeting. I declare the meeting closed.
Oh, no.
Oh,
It was already closed.
No, no,
No.
It's close to the public.
yeah, close the public.
We've reopened
I
the public.
declare the meeting closed at 8:13 p.m. Yep.
Great.